I started to experience some depression, PTSD, a lot of these things that encompasses um, going to war. But I looked into it a little bit more, and after what happened with Naomi Osaka, that really shined a light on what it was doing in the sports arena. So I wanted to talk today about Naomi Osaka because she stepped down from the French Open, and it was because she was experiencing some mental health issues. And instead of getting the support that she needed, they threatened to they yeah, there she go. And they threatened to fine her $15,000 if she didn't come and speak to the press. And she explained to them what was going on, and they gave her that response, and I guess she didn't like it, and she ended up pulling out, which I feel like is one of the strongest things to do, because here you have one of the top players in the world. This is no small thing. The French Open is not a small tournament, and she felt something within herself to have the courage to say, I need some help. I need to stop what I love, what I've been doing all of my life, so that I can get myself right and
Wow.
I can become more healthy. And
Wow.
I felt like she was so powerful in doing that. And it opens up a conversation. What is these sporting agency or sporting organizations doing as far as mental health for the athletes?
Facts.
Now,
Yes,
Antonio
facts.
Brown, and we all saw the hit that he took to the head to cause his traumatic brain injury. And after that hit, Antonio Brown was not acting the same anymore. His speech became kind of slurred. That was one of the first things that I picked up on. His speech kind of started dragging, and that's one of the telltale signs that he had some brain injury.
Right.
But
Facts.
instead, they ridiculed this man.
Yes.
They demonized this man, and they got entertainment and views off of this man for as long as they could, and made him the butt of the jokes
Wow.
because they thought he was done.
Right.
But because of this man, who he is, and the character that he has, he's fought his way back. And I commend him on that, because going through depression and going through any type of injury to the head, or any mind issue is hard. It's hard because people don't see it. It's not one of those visible scars that you can be like, oh, and determine how bad that person is hurt. This is
Facts.
an internal scar that when you see the outward effects of it, you don't really understand it unless you've experienced it. And so there's been many athletes that have shown this on the big playing field. They couldn't keep it private anymore. You remember the when Oliver McCall and Lennox Lewis fought,
Exactly. Yes.
and everybody saw Oliver McCall break down in the ring.
Yes.
And I remember they were asking, well, the commentators were saying Mills Lane need to step in and do something. Well, he was telling Oliver, "Hey, Oliver, you got to fight." But the man was going through something, and he wasn't trying to hear none of that. And at the same time, George Foreman said people didn't pay their money to come and see him. Wow, really?
Right.
That's what you're getting out of all of this? Apparently, obviously, something is wrong. Something is really wrong, because once again, this man has dedicated his life to this sport, and in the midst of a fight, he's just gonna stop and start crying.
Yeah.
There's
Facts.
something really wrong with that man, but nobody took that into consideration.
And D Mac, the thing with that is too, sir, and you're right because you remember Junior Seau, Seau.
Absolutely. My best friend's brother, Natron Means, played with him. Yeah.
Okay, right. So then we understand that people are crying out for help, and what people in this society do, they tease, they talk about, they make fun of, and it's really bad, man. That's why I agree with what you're saying. Junior Seau never came out and committed suicide.
hmm and that's the biggest thing, because there's a stigma that goes with mental health issues. I remember in the military, you would be looked over for promotion if you went to mental health.
Oh,
And
really?
so a lot of soldiers would not go and really talk about what was going on with them because they know that that would impede their progress as far as getting promotions. And
Wow.
the same thing in sports. Whenever people see you have mental health issues, they shy away from you. They called you damaged goods. Hey, how
Wow.
you doing, Markrina?
Hey, Marquita.
And so, in we were talking earlier, and you was talking about Kevin Love.
Right.
Um, I saw some of that, man, and they got to understand that these people have their own issues too. They have their own issues. I know with me, whenever I go through my bouts of depression, isolation is one of the biggest things.
Yes, sir.
And so I understand what Naomi Osaka is talking about when she says she can't get up in front of the press, and she has social anxiety and things like that. I understand that because I get in those moods myself, and it take me about probably about good 3 or 4 days to shake it off.
Right.
And that's with people that admitting to that they have a problem. But there's people out here who don't even know because they haven't been properly diagnosed. Because we as Black people do not like to go to therapy or counseling and stuff like that, and so we go undiagnosed with stuff for so long. And we grow up in bad neighborhoods, and we have PTSD from some of the things we see in these neighborhoods, and it never gets diagnosed. Oh, absolutely, and that's what it is. Is we internalize it, and it bothers us so much that it comes out. It's going to manifest in an outward action or outward behavior. So, especially if you're an introvert like I am,
Right.
you hold things in, and it's like shaking up a soda can and then
Right.
popping the top.
Yeah.
You can't do that. Well, they advise you not to do that. They say it's not healthy to do those types of things. But you know, this whole mental health field is still pretty new.
Right. Facts.
They're discovering some things about mental health that it don't fit everybody, because my PTSD and somebody else's PTSD is not the same,
Facts.
because we have different experiences in life and we have different perceptions of reality.
Right.
Our PTSD is not going to be exactly the same, and they always try to group everybody in the same group when it comes to these things. So they're still working out what mental health is, because they really, really just started paying attention. And I was wondering, it brought up a question to hold up. Let me see what Markrina. She said sometimes we go through a situation from small, we grow up bottling that scenario and never put out. So in time, it's just bad.
Speak,
Absolutely.
sister.
Absolutely, 100%. And there's things from our childhood that we deal with as an adult. A lot of
Right.
us, especially if we do go to therapy, we're going to find that a lot of the issues that we deal with as an adult came from our childhood.
Facts. And that's the sad thing, D, is that people in this country are so insensitive and they're so geared on hurting other people. When you
Yeah.
really don't know what a person has been through, as Macrina said, what they're going through, every situation is not perfect. Every situation is not in place. Like you said, there's some people they're not trying to hide it, but yet they have to, because if they don't, they can't get a job. And then once you find an ignorant person who finds out, then now you have the quote unquote teaser, or you have the one
Mhm.
who has to let everybody know. So then you end up going through this psychological path of misunderstanding to where you can't talk to anybody.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was my biggest issue, talking to somebody, because when I first came home, you know, um, I didn't notice anything right away. I came home, I was focused on trying to reconnect with my family, trying to reintegrate into the family and what was going on here at home. Those are my focuses. So I didn't really notice anything. Um, my wife started pointing things out to me as far as like my quick temper, because I was always really laid back and never snap and, maintain a calm demeanor.
Mm-hmm.
and I was more snappy, and that was like the first thing that she noticed. Then over time, it just started to progress. And so as it progressed, then I was like, okay, maybe there's something to this PTSD thing. Because I didn't really, I thought it was for weak people. That's truly what I thought. Oh man, I ain't got no PTSD. Weak minded people deal with that. No, no, it attacks anybody.
Right.
And as I went through it, and as I started to recognize that, okay, I'm not the same guy anymore, then those outward things started happening. Well, I was holding stuff in, and then whenever I started to act out, I was like, okay, this is not me, and I had to get some help. That was the hardest thing I had to do, but it was the best thing that I ever did. So I hope Naomi Osaka gets the help that she deserves, because we all need it at some point in our life. I don't care who you are. I don't care how strong you think you are. We all need help at some point, because some things you just can't go through alone.
That's right.
And Martina says, I am a person. When I get overwhelmed, I close up. And yes,
Facts.
man, we do. Some of us do. Introverted people mostly, we close up. Um, but yeah, Naomi Osaka, there's been a lot of support, and this is my issue with that. Nike came out in support for her before the French Open and the rest of the tennis organizations.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like they only came out in support of her because of the backlash that they got over the weekend for how they treated her and disregarded her issue. And how many more people are they doing like this?
Right. Facts. Because D, here's the reality, man. I was just watching something on Malcolm X called the bullet or the ballot. We are living
Mm,
in a situation to where this economy and this world is messed up. A lot of folks don't realize some of these things have been passed down through slavery. Do we understand what slaves went through? Do we understood what those individuals went through on a daily basis to where they became paranoia, schizophrenia by what was happening to them? And that's
yeah.
in their gene pool, not just the DNA, the message is stored in the RNA. So now when you get two people who come together, what if those individuals is in their DNA both have the same thing? Or one has it and one doesn't.
Wow.
So now one is an
Wow.
empath, one is an empath, and one is bipolar.
Yeah.
Whew.
That's deep. It's very deep and very heavy. Marquina says, I find some of these athletes want to be themselves but can't because of public pressure. Absolutely, Marquina. That's exactly what Kwame Brown has been saying. That's the point that he's been proving with all of these guys. They can't be themselves because they've been bought.
Yep.
They've been bought at a price,
Yep.
and they can't do what they want. They can't say what they want. They can't go out and go just do the things that the average person does.
Do
They're
we
under contracts, and they have all of these obligations that are holding them to a certain level of a certain standard of behavior, I should say.
facts? Do we understand what pressure it really is? And I think you, myself, and Macrina are saying the same thing. And I don't think a lot of people even know it. Like I asked my mom one time, Mom, why did we move on this side of town? I'm not that type of kid. I got to fight to go outside. That's not me. I got to fight to go to school. I got to fight to go to church. There's somebody who want to jump on you as you're going to church. So people don't understand these things go along with you in life. Then if you have a parent or parents or one parent who doesn't understand, and like some parents to kids that I hear them, you ain't gonna never be nothing. You just like your daddy. La 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 la. La, la. Guess what that does to that kid's mind over time? Man, I ain't gonna never be nothing. I'm just like my daddy. My daddy was an alcoholic. I'm gonna be an alcoholic. My daddy beat his wife. I'm gonna beat my wife. Hmm.
Yeah. Yep. And those words are, people say sticks and stones will break your bones, but words will never hurt you. That's very misleading. That's
Yep.
very misleading because words have destroyed some people.
Yes.
Um,
Yes. I turned it up,
Bullying,
Marquina.
yeah, bullying is at an all-time high right now. And those words that those kids say to those other kids oftentimes cause those kids to commit suicide.
Yes, that's what I was gonna say.
So whenever
Facts.
I hear that term, I disregard that because words hurt. They hurt really bad. And we don't know the scars that people carry because of these words that have been spoken to them. Without regard, because people feel like if somebody's in a certain level or in a certain field, that they just have to take your crap. You
Facts.
with what's going on right now in the NBA, they're starting to let people back into the games, and these people don't know how to act. I don't know if it's been because they've been in the house too long and they had cabin fever and they're just excited to be back out. But now that they're letting the fans back in, they're acting up. They're acting a fool. And they feel like that they have an entitlement to do so because they pay to come to those games, but you are not entitled to treating somebody indecent and not like a human.
D Mac,
So yeah.
D Mac. I've been doing some research, and the more you talk to me, you're gonna understand why I say I've been doing some research. There are two group of people. There's a group of people to where the mind, within the structure of the frontal cortex,
Hmm.
those individuals are barely making it, but they can make it.
Yeah.
But then there's a person who has been abused themselves, and they become an abuser, and they don't understand that you're at a position or a place to where you can use your mind, because the damage to the frontal cortex, which is the place in a position that we feel things, sex, drugs, alcohol, it is the same place to where the mind, when it shoots off those neurons and things are not firing right. There was a doctor by the name of Dr. Amen.
Hmm.
And Dr. Amen said people have holes in their brain from abuse or mental health from what other people
Hmm.
have done to them. And what the medication does, it only closes the holes. But when the medicine wears off, the holes come back.
Wow. Wow. So I mean, what can really be done other than a changing of the mind? And the word always speaks about a changing of the mind
Well,
because that's really the only thing that's going to bring you to a place of peace is a changing of your mind in that situation. Mental
and
health is all about mind. It's all about the head. You can't run for it. You can't exercise. They can't. Well, they'll try to give you a medication for it, but most of those medications don't work. I'm here to tell you, I have about 9 medications and one is to offset the side effects for the other so it gets to be a heavy load. And so I take that into consideration as well when going back to Naomi Osaka, because if she's really dealing with depression on that level, she has to be taking a medication for it. And who knows what the side effects of that medication is and how it makes her feel.
do you know that there are several NFL players, because of the concussion rule, are now, see, this is what I'm saying. Mental health is just not a situation to where individuals are growing up with this issue.
Yeah,
It's an
yeah,
onset of something,
yeah.
concussions, abuse, all these things. That's why now with the law, if anyone is found out to be controlled by a abuser, which uses something called coercive control, that's where they deal with your money, they deal with your self-esteem, they tear you down, they rip you apart. Why? To control you. That is illegal now in most states, and those individuals who do that can be convicted of a felony. So there's a lot of things changing that the world doesn't know about. That's why I'm
Yeah.
saying these guys talking about Kwame Brown and talking about people, if they only knew what could happen. Go ahead, D. I'm sorry.
No, no, you good because that's absolutely a great point. Kwame Brown has been through so much stress. He's been through um, 20 years of people just picking at him and people making him the butt of their jokes. How do you think that makes that man feel? And now that he's showing his feelings from all of these years of buildup, people don't want to see the point. People have a really bad they have a bad time seeing the point in something. They get so overshadowed by the entertainment of it that they don't get the point. They miss the whole point of it. And I see through all of the anger and everything that he's saying, and I see the mental health issues that's right there Anybody that deals with PTSD or anybody who deals with depression and stuff like that, they'll see it.
Yeah, see, Marquina and D Mac. This is what I was saying on my video the other day about Kobe Bryant and Kwame Brown with Matt Barnes. I wasn't talking about the actual fighting or what Matt Barnes was doing. I was trying to show you the disparity between two people and their mindset. He gave
Yeah,
Kwame Brown a blow to the back.
yeah,
Kwame just walked away, but
yeah,
he gave Kobe, tried to give Kobe one, and what did Kobe do? Kobe gave him one under the chin. Then he tried to
yeah,
throw the ball in Kobe's face. Kobe like, whatever. So it just shows you right there. There is a disparity to the mind makeup of every man in this world. But if we judge every man wrong, then we're in trouble.
mhm,
Because watch this. Matt Barnes, when he went up, he invited Kobe to his male parts too. But Kobe dealt
yeah.
with it a whole different way. Where anybody else whose mind is not intact, guess what they would have did?
What Kwame Brown did. But yeah, man, and that goes back to the Kevin Love, the whole Kevin Love point. When Kevin Love started breaking down and having his issues, they demonized that guy. You know, they well, you make so much money, you ought to be
Yes.
able to do this, but money doesn't cure everything. Money doesn't make everything better. Steve Jobs died. I'm pretty sure if he would have been able to buy some more time, he would have, but money does not buy everything.
That's
And
right.
that's what people have to understand. This man has some health issues. He has some obvious mental health issues that's starting to come out, and they need to address it before it gets to a point to where they lose a lot of money because they lose a player for doing something crazy. You know, we
Facts.
we see it in the NFL all the time. Let's see. Marquina says people use assertions to get at your weak points. Absolutely, and goes back to Antonio Brown. You know, they were saying, what's going on with him? Why is he making these decisions? But we sat there and watched this man get hit right in his head. It was a dirty hit and it knocked him unconscious. And that brother woke up a different person. He woke up a different person, man. And but instead of focusing on that, they missed the point again and just started to talk about his actions and what he was doing off the field, and started to they started to punish him for it. Instead of seeing what's wrong, what's going on, they started to fine him and take his money.